And we are live. It is 11 o'clock Saturday night, uh, Pacific time, which means it is uh, 1 a.m. on the East Coast. No, 1 a.m. Central, 2 a.m. on the East Coast. Don't know if anybody's going to tune in. You think, what the hell, man? Drinking whiskey in the middle of the night, going live, unscheduled. Is anybody going to show up? What the hell? Don't know if I'm going to keep this. I might delete it later. We'll see how this goes. Put a link in the chat if someone wants to tune in. I am going to as well. Let me see real quick. I'll put a link to this on Facebook. See if anybody will join in just real quick. So why in the hell am I doing this? Simple answer. Why the hell not? Long story short, and I'll probably repeat myself a few times tonight. Been working a lot of hours, and it's sort of, I think, screwed up my sleep pattern. So, long story short, I worked like 11 hours yesterday, but not all at once. Some of it was in the morning, and then other was late at night. I ended up going to bed. I was up at this 5 a.m. Friday morning, and then working again. Friday night going into Saturday was up to about 3 o'clock in the morning. Long story short, that screwed up my sleep schedule, and consequently, man, I'm trying to put a post here on Facebook as well. I hate that damn thing. Screwed up my sleep schedule, which is kind of like having jet lag. I put a post on Facebook, see if people join in. I'm not complaining. No one put a gun in my head, made me choose a career that I work in. I actually really, really like it. Work very independently. I'm basically self-managing. I chose to work the hours in order to get done what I need to get done. So no complaints about there. It's just, if I had a family, it would be a problem because it would screw up your work-life balance. But since I don't have a family, it doesn't really affect much other than my sleep pattern. So, feel a little bit like a jet lag, where you're sort of chronologically out of sync. All right, posted that. See if anybody shows up. Oh wow, a whole bunch of people are showing up. Holy cow! Hold on, give me. I'm. No. Wow, people are showing up in the middle of the night. Holy cow! Man, holy cow! All these people popped in. I did not expect you guys. I expected to be talking about myself. Holy cow! This is funny. So I'm probably getting a lot of people in the UK early Sunday morning. So Michael Porto, Ben Demon Hunter, Marco Van Velzen. I know it's 8 in the morning where you guys are at. Taylor Ashley, James Morgan. Thank you very much. I know this sounds crazy. So I thought I was talking to myself, but apparently I was like, holy cow, all these people in here. Long story short, it looks like the majority of Europeans. Yeah, I thought if anybody tunes in, it's going to be Sunday morning. People got people in the UK and in Europe. Not a bad thing necessarily. It's kind of funny. Afternoon in Australia. Alan Bent, how you doing, man? So a lot of names other than Ben Demon Hunter, a lot of names I'm not really familiar with. So long story short, as I was just saying, been working a lot of hours. By the way, the last two times I went live, after a minute and 2 seconds, I lost connection and took 3 minutes for it to come back. I'm hoping it's not going to happen, but it happened the last 2 times. Anyway, so working a lot of hours, doing some business related travel. The problem is when you're on business travel, stuff that needs to get done in the office isn't getting done. So you go away for business for a few days to get work done, but stuff back in the office still needs to get done, and the shit just piles up. So I'm having to make up for stuff that didn't get done while I was on business travel. So the result is I'm working 6 days a week. And there's more to it than that. I'm working 6 days a week. I'm going to be traveling again this week. I'm going to lose 3 days of work this week, a bit of getting stuff done this week because I'm travel. So I'm trying to get other things done, stupid shit done, on my own time. What's supposed to be my own time? So I'm supposed to be off on Fridays. I'm going to drink some water. So I'm supposed to be off on Fridays, but I put in 11 hours. I'm not going to go into all the details of it, but basically I worked like 7 hours in the morning from 6 a.m. till about 1 p.m. And then I had to come back later that night. So I was there from 11 o'clock at night to about 3 o'clock in the morning. So, and that being up till 3 a.m. screwed up my sleep schedule, which kind of feels like jet lag, right? So today, it's been weird. It hasn't felt like it wouldn't feel like a Saturday. I'm going to pour myself something. So this is West Cork. I'm going to talk about this a little bit. My full review will go later. I might pop a few corks. Stuff I'm going to be so to do a comparison. This is the West Cork single malt Irish whiskey Glengarriff series peat charred cask, 43% alcohol by volume. To show it to you, that's what I'm going to pour myself a little bit of, and I'll talk a little bit about it. So. So my sleep schedule's screwed up. I was planning on doing a live on Friday, but I was too damn tired. Plan on doing a live on Saturday, but too damn tired. And I had stuff I need to get done around the house. I'm not married, don't have any kids. I could hire a servant, I guess, if I wanted to. But I just had stupid shit to get done around the house, particularly in the garage. I moved out here in July. Basically, everything's put away, but, stuff needs to get done. So spent all day working in the garage. Then I ate a late lunch around 2 p.m. And I thought, I'm really tired. Took a shower. And I'm like, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Really, really tired. I'm just going to take a nap for an hour. This is what happened. I'm just going to take a nap for an hour or two. Then I'll be good. I'll get up, I just slept like 7 hours. I slept 7 hours, right? So I slept from like 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 10 o'clock at night. I'm screwing up my sleep schedule, right? Because I was up working late the night before. I'm not screwing up my sleep schedule. And James Morgan says, throw up a like for the time slot, not often taken. Yeah, this is strange. So I screwed up my sleep schedule again. Let me pour myself a little bit of something. And I wake up. I'm like, what the hell time is it? It's like, oh, geez, man. So now I'm fully rested, and it was 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, what the hell am I going to do, man? So I could have recorded a video, but I felt like chatting, just hanging out. So I could have recorded a video, but not. You know what? Rather than that, what the hell? I'll just do a live stream. Nobody's going to show up because of the time it is. Nobody's going to show up. And it won't really matter because I just delete it later. So I'm just going to call this drinking whiskey in the middle of the night. And that's what it is. All right. So let's pour myself a little bit. I'll talk a little bit about this whiskey, but I'll give a more thorough review in my regular video. Now, it's a green bottle, so it's kind of hard to see, but I'm going to put my finger where it's at. So it's down to about here. If you've been watching me for a while, I like to get through a neck pour, and wherever the label is, when I get it down to there, that's when I think I understand the whiskey well enough that I'm ready to do a review. Right there. So during my last live stream, I mentioned this whiskey, and I did an uncorking of my sixth bottle of the Ardbeg 10. And I was actually complaining about this whiskey. By the way, if anybody wants to join in, I put a link for StreamYard. If you have a decent camera, decent audio and all kinds of stuff, feel free to join in. I don't do an open mic very often, but there you go. So up there in the very, very top of the chat, all I have to do is click it, go through the steps to log on, and then you can join me. That's what you call a little pour. Yeah, that's a little pour. Just a little pour. Just a little pour, nothing big. Anyway, so I was talking about the Ardbeg and how much I love Ardbeg and Ardbeg 10 and how much, and I talked about various peated whiskeys from Ireland and how most of them I don't like. And I was really saying about this whiskey how much I didn't like it and how disappointed I was. But then drinking a bad whiskey makes you appreciate really good whiskey. And so it made me appreciate Ardbeg 10 all the more. Now, I've said this a gazillion times, and yet I sometimes I don't listen to myself, and I should. Don't judge a whiskey by a neck pour. Don't judge a whiskey by a neck pour. Don't judge a whiskey by a neck pour. But I did say last week in the live stream, but I was thinking about not reviewing it at all. And I thought, no, I'm still going to do it. Still hold judgment. I got to stick to my rules of not judging by neck pour. So I'm still going to give it some time. And then, I had already had a little bit when I first, about half an hour ago. And that's what made me decide, screw it. I'm going to do a live stream. And then when I tasted it half an hour ago, I was like, whoa. I got to say, this is one of the most dramatic changes in a whiskey I've ever had. One of the most dramatic changes in a whiskey I've ever had. The first two whiskeys that really, really taught me the lesson of not judging whiskey by neck pour. One was a Highland Park 20-year-old from Douglas Lang. Douglas Lang, in case you don't know, is an independent bottler. And it was a really, 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 really good whiskey. But I spent $200 on it and opened it with a friend, but we did neck pours and I was not impressed by it. 6 months later, I went back to it and was like, wow, a much better whiskey. And I kind of felt bad because the person I was drinking with was actually Andrew from Scotch for Dummies. He was visiting California on business and he had relatives here. So he came over to my house. And I thought, wow, what a bummer. I wish he could be experiencing the whiskey as I'm tasting it now when we pop the cork on it. Well, what I did was later on, they had a dinner, which they just had another one Saturday. They had a dinner. And so I flew out to Indianapolis, met up with them, and I brought that bottle and I blinded all the Scotch for Dummies on it. They were actually doing a Highland Park dinner with a rep from Highland Park. I'm gonna take a small sip. They're doing a Highland Park dinner with a rep and had various pairings of Highland Park whiskeys. It was a fantastic time. It was at Sean's restaurant. Well, the restaurant he was managing at the time. And then I blinded everybody with this one, and everybody was like, wow, this is awesome. It turned out to be the best Highland Park of the night. So we had a bunch of official bottlings from Highland Park, but the best of the night was the one from Douglas Lang. And the reason why I brought it was because I wanted Andrew to taste this whiskey we'd had before and was not all that impressed with how much more impressive it was because it had opened up, but also just to see how the best Highland Park is actually one that's from someone else, that's bottled by someone else. All right. Another whiskey that sort of taught me a lesson of not judging a whiskey by neck pour was the Lefroy 10. And actually that was before the Douglas Lang Highland Park 20-year-old. Because the first time I had a Lefroy 10, it was all ash and smoke and briny and all that. It wouldn't get any fruit characteristics. And again, it wasn't until got below the neck pour, get a little oxygen to it, that you get a lot of fruit character and you get some of that chocolate mint character, and you realize it really is a really nice and more balanced whiskey than you first perceive. Fight for Sound, how you doing, man? Doing a impromptu live stream in the middle of the night, drinking whiskey in the middle of the night. because I screwed up my sleep schedule. By the way, again, if anybody wants to jump in, there's a link at the top of the chat. So most of my experience, wow, it's a much better. This is a good whiskey. I'll get more into it in a second. So most of my experience with whiskeys and the experience of them opening up has been when they open up, they don't change in terms of their basic character. You just get more of what you had from a neck pour. In other words, it becomes more pronounced. It becomes more expressive. It just opens up more. You don't necessarily have like a completely different whiskey. That's my general experience. But I would say the opening of a bottle, Ben Demon says, sorry, Eric, need to work around 6.5 hours. I'll need to jump off very soon. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. Maybe catch the replay if I still keep on it. I might delete this. I'll decide later. The biggest differences in between a neck pour and when you get below the shoulder, in my experience, has been with peated whiskeys. The least experience with that, or expression of that, has been with bourbons. I generally find bourbons, and I don't know why, I don't know the chemistry why, I don't know the science behind it. Bourbons are closer on the neck pour to the rest of it than, say, peated whiskey. The most dramatic has something to do with the peat, and I don't know why. So, so whiskey teaches you things. It teaches you about being patient. It teaches you, if you're wise, about moderation. It teaches you to think, to analyze, to stop, to pay attention, to enjoy the journey. Now, I know a lot of people, some people drink to get drunk, and so it doesn't matter how good it tastes. They're just out to get shit-faced. But someone who really, really appreciates fine whiskeys or wines, that actually teaches you to realize that this is something that is very dangerous, or can be very dangerous, but it's one of the best things in life. I find some of the best things in life are also some of the most dangerous things in life. And so some of the best things in life require self-control, patience, maturity, and so on and so forth. It requires self-control. So the best things in life tend to take you to that edge, whereas if you go too far, boop, you fall over. And whiskey is one of those things. And so whiskey, if you're wise, teaches you self-control, patience, to stop. Both wine and whiskey have this character to pay attention to your senses that you tend to just generally not pay attention to. 60 Hertz, thanks for tuning. He says, good evening, all. Saturday night dinner is digesting, need something to pour. It's funny, that's another great thing about whiskey, and I could get off on that, is whiskey as a digestive. Rewind, I'll get back to that. And so, we're so busy in our lives, running around doing stuff. And I think particularly men, we're more visually oriented. We pay attention. And yet, in terms of all the species on the planet, we have the worst eyesight in comparison to eagles and whatever else. Especially me with my glasses, right? But what this does is it makes you stop and ponder and think and pay attention, slow down. And really, really good whiskeys grab your attention, and you can really sort of go through all the various elements of it and just go on a ride and a journey in a glass. And the best whiskeys, I know this is not a Glencairn, it's a rocks glass. For casual drinking, this is what I prefer. And I like the Riedel Spey glass because I like the weight, I like the hand feel, and I like the cut. And sometimes I might put some ice in it. Anyway, so whiskey makes you slow down. It makes you think about it, makes you contemplate it. You don't have to go wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and slam it. And so you can, and a really good whiskey with a long finish, you can taste a little bit. Enjoy the entry, the mid palate, the finish, how long it is, and then just sort of ponder all the various elements that are there. And that's, I think, for the true whiskey lover enthusiast, the anorak, that's what it makes it so captivating. Yeah, you have a couple, you kind of makes you relax. It's a relaxant, whatever. Yes, that element is there too. Yes, every once in a while, sometimes we get a little carried away and we drink too much and we regret it in the morning. Got it. And unfortunately, some people get really stupid and they get behind the wheel of a vehicle. There was a guy I served with in the Marine Corps, died on a motorcycle as a drunk driver. He died in a drunk driving accident on a motorcycle. I'm not going to get off on that. But that's one of the great things about whiskey. And so it's funny. One of the things, and I'm sort of talking about, is one of the things whiskey has taught me is in the same way in which you deal with people, someone might be having a bad day. They might, before I have my first cup of coffee, I'm kind of, they might hurry. They might have other things going on that you don't know about. And so while you're dealing with them and you don't like the way, how they're responding, you don't like how things are, but you don't know what's going on. Maybe they're having problems at home. Maybe they're not feeling well. Maybe there's other things going on. And so I work in management and I have people who work a part of my team. I'm the team leader. I don't like saying work for me or I'm the boss. I don't like, that's not my approach. I'm the team leader and I have to lead by example. And so when you're dealing with people who maybe their performance is not the best, is set them down, talk to them, and say, what's going on? Talk to me. Not, you should be doing better. You should do better. Hey, shake your finger at him. Melissa's, how you doing, man? He says, hey, Eric, wait, it's streaming past my bedtime. How you doing? Well, I screwed up my sleep schedule, so I just woke up. So that's why I'm up. I just screwed up lead by example. Great motto. Yeah. So I just screwed up my sleep schedule. So my sleep schedule. I screwed up my sleep schedule. My sleep schedule. So that's when I'm up. I went to take a 1 hour nap and slept for like 6-7 hours. So I'm up in the middle of the night drinking whiskey and I'm talking. So you don't know how people are. You don't know what's going on with their life. You don't know what's going on. So sit them down. Hey, what's going on? So sometimes it's like I have a problem with a particular person. There's something going on. Sit down, talk to them. And it turns out the person is having sleep problems, sleep apnea. And it's screwing up their ability to sleep. They're not sleeping right. And if you lose sleep, if you have sleep deprivation due to for whatever reason, medical reason, it can affect you mentally and medically and physically. So rather than getting on this person for certain things, whatever, I'd sit down, talk to them, find out what the issue is. Then I tell them, go see a doctor, get yourself checked out. If you need time off, let me know. See, and this isn't always the case. And maybe some people are just being lazy. Maybe some people are just being whatever, negligent. Maybe some people, right? They have a character problem. Maybe some people do have a character problem. But I know this person and I need them. They're a valuable part of my team. And so there's something else going on. So same thing don't judge by first impression. There's something else going on. And so one of the things whiskey has reinforced that in the experience of dealing with whiskey is don't jump to a quick conclusion about it. Give it some time, get to know it. And so some channels, all they do is basically neck pour reviews. The Whiskey Vault, and I love Daniel, love Rex, but they get donated 50 gazillion whiskeys, right? They got a year's backlog of whiskeys that have been donated. They don't have time to spend a lot of time with the bottles in order to get around to have a balanced and fair evaluation and give a score to a whiskey. That's not what they do. They're mostly entertainment. They pop a cork, pour it, give their first impressions, talk about the whiskey, joke around, and that's it. That's what they do. Nothing wrong with that. I find them entertaining, and I like them personally. They're great guys. But in terms of really understanding a whiskey, one, to really understand a whiskey, I think you need to finish the bottle. Obviously not at once, over time. Over time, get to know a whiskey, just like spending time with a person to fully come to understand it. Or like Ardbeg 10, right? I've just started my 6th bottle. It's a whiskey I know really, really, really well. But at least if you get down to about here, I think you can make a fair, more balanced judgment. Oh, hey, Taylor actually is about to bring in. I'm going to finish the sentence and I'll bring you on, man. If everything's working, so you can give a fair and balanced impression of a whiskey. But before then, I don't think I can. So I'm reminded of one of my own rules tonight. About half an hour ago, when I had a little bit of this, I was like, wow, it's a completely different whiskey. I mean, a completely different whiskey than what I had it down to here. And so I'm much more impressed. I'm much happier with it. But I'll give my full review later on. All right, so hey, Taylor, if you're ready to go, give me a thumbs up. All right, there you go. Oh, hey, got Michael in there. Okay, add to the stream. There we go. And you got Michael. All right, I'm gonna change. Hold on.
How do I stop the feedback loop?
Do you have a feedback loop still?
Yeah.
Is it audio you're hearing? Or what's going on? Yeah, Taylor just went green. I'm not sure what happened there.
I was checking the chat.
Oh, you know what? Hold on. I can. Yeah. I gotta close it. I gotta close something.
Yeah, you probably have too many browsers open or something, so you have to close something.
That's what I gotta do. Okay, we're good.
Taylor, why is yours thing green? I've never seen anybody do that before.
I was checking the chat. I don't know if it just changed over there when I did that or what.
Try logging off and come back on again. So, let's see, Michael, what's your last name?
Oporto. It asked me.
Okay.
I left it off. Portuguese last name. Not sure how that works out. My parents are from Central America.
So Oporto, like the wine.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah. Funny enough, I've never had it, but I have heard about it. I saw a bottle on the shelf one time, and it was like $80, and I don't know much about wine, so I was like, I'll leave that there.
So you can get I would say you can get a fairly decent like a ruby port for like $20-$30.
Yeah. We'll see.
I mean, it's gonna be a little. I mean, at least once in your life, you should have a port. It'll be on the fruitier side and stuff like that. But if your name's a Porto, hey man, you gotta have a port.
Yeah, you know what? I just tend to find wine to be very intimidating in terms of just the variety, the depth, the quality, the regions, and everything. So I've just kind of if somebody pours me something and says it's nice, I'll try it. But other than that, I tend to stay away.
So just try it without judgment and without doing a video or anything like that. Just try it. Yeah. So wine is 100 times more complex than more complicated than whiskey. You have 5 major countries. Ireland, Scotland, United States, Canada, and Japan. I mean, you got all of Europe plus for wine. All of Europe. I mean, France, Italy. The base countries are France, Italy, Spain, and then the United States. But you got Austria and Germany, and I mean, and there's like over 3,000 different grape varietals. Right. Yeah, wine is much more complex. Right.
Yeah, all that stuff I just find to be the barrier to entry seems to be a little more difficult, and also I got into drinking late. I didn't get into drinking till I was like in my mid-20s, and it started off with craft beer, and now that I'm in my mid-30s, the craft beer doesn't really sit as well as it used to 10 years ago, and so now I'm kind of making a shift over the past year to try to get into like whiskeys and learning more about that, which is its own
project. I didn't get into wine till 1997, and I was 31 years old. So,
Gotcha.
dude, you're young. You're young. You have plenty of time. Don't worry about it.
There's no race.
So Taylor keeps going green. It's kind of weird, man.
I
I've
don't
never seen
know.
that.
Everything's connected. It's been going through clear for me.
And the audio is fine. It's just the visual. That is so
I don't know.
strange.
I wonder if it's just like a cable or something. I don't know. It
I don't
seems
know.
random.
Whatever. We'll have Taylor on as the green man. He's
So, hey, listen. So, I just jumped on. This is kind of random. This is totally something I would never do. But
right.
I think I got algorithmed into your channel, and I definitely enjoy the content. I've passed along word to some of my friends who casually enjoy whiskey as well. But anyway, let's start it off. I'm on the West Coast too, like you. I'm actually in downtown LA, and yeah. So me and you, unlike some of the people that I saw in the chat, share time zones. So I'm kind of fresh. So let me. I'm gonna go with your suggestion, but I decided to pull this off the shelf, by the way. So I've got this that I can pour for myself.
Green spot. Which one is it?
This is I think this is just the regular one you can get all the time.
That's the only one I don't have.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know what? I saw your review on the blue spot, and you make it sound so amazing. Of course, you're picking up stuff that I just don't. I'm not able to yet. But I've got my eye out for that. I'll definitely pick that up. Or I picked this up too because I saw it on the shelf.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which now is actually a Ben Nevis that's been blended and aged in Japan.
Oh, is it totally different from what it used to be?
Well, no, it always was. It's just they weren't the transparency of the Japanese whiskey industry.
Mm-hmm.
So we're now more and more we're finding out a lot of Japanese whiskeys aren't really Japanese. They import spirit. There's a long story. I did a video on why is there a shortage on Japanese whiskey.
I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, so basically what happened is a lot of Japanese whiskey is actually whiskey that's brought over from Canada and Scotland and then blended there. Now, they're masters at blending, so it's not just going straight into the bottle. And so that is a masterfully blended whiskey. Really, it's a blended Scotch whiskey. It's been masterfully blended by the Japanese, bottled, perhaps a little bit of aging there, and then boom. But in terms of the base of it, it's really a Ben Nevis Scotch whiskey. Hey, Matt, Whiskey Crusaders is on. How you doing, man? Up in the middle of freaking night. Probably the kids keep me awake. But anyway, yeah. But it's still, so nothing to take away from that whiskey. It's still a great whiskey. It's still very fine whiskey. It doesn't change my opinion of whiskey. It just, it's just like, oh, this really isn't then a great example of Japan. But it's still very, very nice whiskey.
Gotcha. All right. So asking the question here, which one should I pour a little glass of to join you?
So you had the Hibiki.
Wait, no, it's the Nika from the
Nika in the barrel. Sorry.
Yeah.
I got Hibiki on my mind. Nika in the barrel, and then your other one was
Green Spot.
Green Spot. You know, it's funny because the Green Spot's going to have a creamier texture to it than Hibiki is going to be more fine and delicate. So if you're going to have a little bit of each, I would start with the Nika and then go over to the Green Spot.
Gotcha. All right.
Speaking of green,
you guys chat for a little bit.
Yeah, I have a second phone over here. Let me sign off and try it on there.
Okay.
This phone or something.
Okay. So I've seen all kinds of glitches in doing YouTube. I've never seen that before. That's a first. Can be frustrating, but you know what? This is an unplanned event. Hey, Matt, if you've got nothing better to do, you want to jump in, I'll put a link at the top of the chat there so people can jump in. So, Matt, if you got nothing better to do, feel free to jump in. So how long have you been into whiskey then?
It's been a super casual thing over the past year or so. It really started off as just me trying to build a bar, and then I just kind of started figuring out like what I like, what I didn't like, what spirits I could drink just either over iced or just in a little just snifter like this. And I usually kept coming back to the whiskey. It just seemed more palatable to me. So, but very, very casually over the past year. I'm not quite to the point where I can enjoy, peated whiskeys or anything like that. Right. I can appreciate to a certain extent. I can see why people do enjoy them, but not quite there yet. Definitely something that is less peated is more accessible to me now.
Okay. So one thing about this whiskey, and I'll get more into it in my formal review, is one of the things, and this happens with wines a lot. A lot of times, if I open a bottle of wine, it's better the next day because the various elements become much more integrated and harmonized. So not only does it open up and become more expressive, but the various components are really more mingled a lot better. It's like somebody, say with music, adjusting the equalizer so that everything's more working together a lot better. Whereas before, it seems like everything's off. Imagine if you had different instruments in an orchestra playing at the wrong time. And now, a day later, they start to play together the way they're supposed to. And that's basically what happens with the wine, it happens with the whiskey, is all the various elements are playing well together, and it becomes more balanced. Some of the stuff that was a little bit too in your face is now backed off. So it looks like Taylor's coming in again. Hopefully this will work. We'll bring him back in. So I'm not going to give it a scores right now. I'll give more because I don't want to spoil for a review later on. But I would say I'm much more impressed with this. In fact, that's going to be the title of the video. I'll put on the thumbnail as how much it improved. I'm going to make a point about how much it improves. All right, I'm going to try Taylor again. Hopefully this will work. Let's keep our toes crossed. All right,
it's not quite the same, but hopefully it won't be green anymore.
There we go. Now we're going to. That could be on my side. Hold on.
Check.
No, it could be on my side. More advanced. Automatic.
I'm hearing it.
Okay. Still there?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm gonna try this. All right. How are we doing now? So I think what you're doing is you're listening. Just listening to this. Close the window, whatever else you had open. All right. How about now? No, still a little echo.
Let me see. Maybe it's this case. I don't know.
Hey, it happens.
It is a live broadcast, right?
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to.
Oh, it went away. Is it because he went away?
Well, it's because he's muted.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate.
Anyway, we'll keep going. So I'm pleasantly surprised how much more I like this whiskey. I think I'll probably need to go head-to-head with some other peated whiskeys. And Patrick Ross is tuning in. And it's just going to get worse. I'm moving my mic. All right. I think I'm going to mute Taylor. All right. Do we still have an echo? No. See, it's something with Taylor because I just muted him and now I don't hear it. So you've got Taylor. You've got something on that is giving me the echo.
I don't know what it would be.
Okay.
Just.
So, do you have headphones? I hate to do that. Sometimes that's the only way to get rid of the echo. All right. I don't know what happened to him.
Oh, he froze.
And now he's froze. All right. So someone else had jumped in there a second ago, and then they popped off. He showed me a bottle and then popped off. Whatever.
He got shy.
Could be. So this is one of the risks of having an open mic. Is most of us we're whiskey tubers. We're used to doing this. I mean, we still have mistakes. We still have problems, but we're a little bit more accustomed to dealing with it and on the fly and how to fix it. And and some of us, we have a setup and, used to messing with things. But anyway, so price wise, I'm trying to think, how much is this? I don't remember. We'll look it up real quick. $42. So it's in the price range of an Ardbeg 10. Do I like it as much as an Ardbeg 10? No, but I'll probably do a formal review, a head-to-head. But at least I'm not hating it and not totally disappointed as I was before. So that's sort of where I'm at with this now.
So question with regards to that specific whiskey is this something that you popped open, wasn't crazy about it, and then you decided to let it sit on the shelf for a little bit, came back to it?
Oops, I just tried to bring someone on and then they popped off again. Taylor, actually, you popped off. Anyway, so no, well, generally speaking, I open a whiskey, and this is the next whiskey I'm going to review, and I focus on that one over a couple of weeks. However, sometimes I'll open a bottle, try it, put the cork back in, put it on a shelf, and then 6 months later, get around to it.
Gotcha.
So I've got, for example, I just got these this past week. This is a Bunnahabhain Fishel 2021 Moyne Bordeaux cask.
I saw the post about these. Yeah.
So I'd posted on Facebook and in the community section on this. Just got these in. Well, I already have a Bunnahabhain Moyne Bordeaux cask, but it's not a Fishel edition, and I think it's a different ABV and so forth. So I'm probably going to do a comparison between the two. They're both really, really difficult whiskeys to get to. But anything that says Moyne or Moyne from Bunnahabhain, I buy it.
Gotcha.
It's just really, really, really good whiskeys. So that's a bottle that I might would open it, try it, and then set off aside and then come back to it. I think if to be fair to a whiskey and to experience the evolution of a whiskey, I think it's probably more important with peated than anything else. So I've got a whole bunch of peated whiskeys down here. I have a bunch of independent Islay whiskeys that I'll be getting to probably beginning of 2022. But I probably should be opening them now. We're halfway through November. I should probably open them all now, try a little bit. Not now like tonight, but
right,
soon. So that they've got the rest of November going into December to have at least a little bit of oxygen in them. At least get started on them, so that when I get into them in January or into February, whenever I get around to it, they've had that time to open up with them. So, I've had this one also on ice. I like it. If you really, really like mint and you like a chocolate mint character, like a York's peppermint patty, this is heavy. This is really, really, really heavy on that. It's more on the chocolatey, minty character. When I first opened it up, it was like, I know you ever have a stick of gum out of a football or baseball cards?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm not that young, right?
I'm 55, so
gotcha.
I'm not a sports person, so I don't know what's going on in the baseball card world these days.
But I know what you're talking about, though.
But I remember when I was a kid, I was never into sports, whatever. My older brother, he was a sports fan. He would get the baseball cards or football cards, whatever, and he would give us the gum because he didn't like the gum. And the gum was freaking horrible. It was thin, about the size of a little smaller than a credit card, or it was like the size of a business card. Thin. It had this white powdery sugar on it. It lost its flavor like super quick.
Yeah, you got like 20 seconds worth of flavor out of that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. And it was hard. It was just the shittiest thing,
Right.
That's what this tasted like when I first opened it up.
That's not the best starting point, right? So if it's gotten any better, then
it had like this powdery, sugary sweetness to it. Pinch hitter, Whiskey Lounge. Thanks for tuning in, man. It had this powdery sugar, and then had this bubblegum character, and it was just. It wasn't bad. It wasn't like Connemara 12 and the cask strength. It's like freaking gasoline. It wasn't like that. But it was just weird. Those are bad. I can't drink that shit.
Right.
Those are. But this was just weird. Bubblegum weird. And now it's chocolate mints, and the peats open up more expressive to it. And then they're using a charred cask. They're not using peated barley, so there's a different character there to it. So I'm really, really happy. that I like. That I'm not totally disappointed by the bottle. So I'm happy there. But it's also another lesson and education of how whiskeys can develop in the bottle.
Gotcha. Now, just kind of taking a couple steps back, like just since I have this access to you now, just asking a very simple question, and something that was brought up to me recently is, so when you have something like a like a green spot or a hibiki or anything that's over 40% ABV, for someone like myself, sometimes I'll get a bottle and it'll just be a little too much on the tongue, right? It'll burn a little bit too much. Is that just something that requires the palate to adjust, or is there a different component there that I might be missing?
Oh, absolutely. So I spent 20 years in wine before I got into whiskey, and a high alcohol wine is like 18%.
Right.
You're talking port, right? Sherry. Most of your table wines that you're having with dinner are 13.5 to 14.5. Your big California Cabernets, 14.5. Some of your Pinots are 14.5. Your Bordeaux, maybe some of the old world wines are 13.5. Some of the German wines might be as low as 12.5. So to go from 13.5 to 40,
right,
their ABV, the minimum ABV for whiskey, that's more than twice the amount. And so it's like, whoa. So not only is there's the bite of the alcohol, but the intensity of the flavor. It's just like, whoa. So when I first, I don't know if you know my story or not, and most people have heard it, but I got into whiskey because I was studying for the diploma for the Wine Spirit Educational Trust. One of the units was on spirits. So I bought a bunch of minis of various spirits, rum, gin, vodka, whiskey, opened a Macallan 12-year-old, and I was just blown away by the intensity and complexity of the flavor. And yet it's just a basic, Mac 12.
Right.
And so when you're going from the wine world or beer world or, into whiskey, there's an intensity of flavor and that intensity of alcohol, even at 40% ABV.
Right.
So there is a definite place for 40 ABV whiskeys. So a friend of mine, in fact, he's a fellow sommelier. He works for a winery. He has a wine channel, and he wanted to do the thing on whiskey. So he came over to my house when I was living in Sacramento, and I took him through about a half a dozen different whiskeys. Taylor, actually, maybe, all right, he's going to try it again. So I tested him through a bunch of...
Third time's a charm.
Very determined, never give up. And look, he's not working off the phone now.
Yeah, now I'm on my laptop, so hopefully it'll be better.
All right, cool.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah, so sounds good, looks good.
Yeah, now I don't have to glare.
I'm trying to convince you the screen froze.
No green screen. Not the green
I was
man
like,
anymore.
wait, I'm still moving.
And the sound is sounding slow. Anyway, so he was not used, because even though we had to learn 120 different cocktails for the certified sommelier exams,
Wow.
we weren't required to do blind tasting, and you weren't required to be like a bartender, but we had to at least know the recipes for 120 different cocktails. So he really didn't have any experience in spirits. So I started him off with the Cragganmore 12-year-old, which is at 40 ABV.
Right.
So I think for a 40 ABV whiskey, it's fairly complex. It's probably one of the better 40 ABV scotches. But if you were to watch his video is on his channel, not on my channel.
Right.
He's just like, wow. And and what you're talking about, that biting of the alcohol, he's just not used to it. So yes, long story short, it's very much getting used to it. Don't be in a hurry. Don't be in a rush. Don't feel like you have to force yourself. It's not like trying to have anal sex without lubricant.
Hey, it is after dark, right? Eric Waite Whiskey Studies After Dark.
It's not a kids program. So Taylor, how you doing, man? Thanks for popping in.
Good timing.
Right,
so where are you located?
Florida. So
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Almost
wow.
3 a.m.
So it's now, what time is it there? Coming up
Just
on
about 3.
Wow. So what keeps you guys up this late at night?
Usually I get off of work at about 1 o'clock. So.
Oh, okay. So this isn't just an after work drink.
No.
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
So, Redbreast cast strength.
Cool. So I'm thinking about doing a video on top 5 whiskeys for Thanksgiving, and that's going to be one of the top 5.
For sure.
Is the cast strength. So, this is kind of cool. To be able to interact with people who watch my channel, subscribe to my channel. 13,000 subscribers. There's a lot of people I just don't know out there. A little name, a little tiny icon in a chat. It's hard to make a connection with. So it's really, really cool that you pop in. I'm really glad you did. So I'm just kind of curious, how long you've been watching or the channel?
Kind of got into whiskey probably early mid 19. So, just almost 2 years or so.
Okay.
Yeah, I forget quite how I got in, but I was just kind of, I'd had a couple drinks, Jack, little basic stuff, but just wanted to kind of learn more and figure out, just started watching a lot of Whiskey Tribe videos and seeing, what's going on and just kind of digging in. And so now I have about 100 bottle collection. So, yeah.
Which is quite impressive. The average, most people, if they have a bunch of whiskeys, they might have 2 or 3, and they don't buy another bottle until they finish what they currently have. And they're probably using more for mixers, for making cocktails than anything else. I mean, that's probably the average whiskey consumer.
Yeah.
So do you have either of you guys, do you have particular things like some people are really, really into bourbon, some people are really into Scotch, some people are, do you have anything at this point there that you're sort of really getting into?
Primarily Scotch for me.
Okay.
I think I have about 24 bourbons and corn whiskeys. So that's, Balcones and Mellow Corn and what else? The typical Bullet, Buffalo, that sort of stuff. And then I have a whole spreadsheet of my collection. Let me pull that up.
Yeah, and just for myself, honestly, I'm at a point where I'm just trying to find stuff that I enjoy to drink. I'm not gonna force myself into like a Lagavulin or a Lafroig and just kind of like just drink it down and pretend that I enjoy it. And I'm really looking for stuff that I enjoy. And I brought on the Green Spot, and this is one that I genuinely enjoy. I can actually pour myself glasses at any time. Actually, Eric, throwing this back to you, I do have a couple of like bourbon bottles, but I mean, it's nothing special.
Both of you guys are drinking single pot stills.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Green Spot and Redbreast is kind of funny.
Both Middleton as well.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I know your channel primarily focuses on Scotch whiskey, but do you have an opinion on bourbon whiskeys?
Yeah, so I've got I'd have to turn the camera. I've probably about 25% of my collection is bourbon. A lot of that is Texas as well as Kentucky. I like bourbons. For me, I'm very much mood driven. So the difference between drinking whiskeys and reviewing whiskeys for a channel versus being on a journey and you have a particular trying to understand the world of whiskey. And so when you're trying to understand the world of whiskey, you're going on a path and studying. And so there comes a certain point with bourbons where bourbons had them, got it, move on.
Gotcha.
Now, obviously, whether Jason C over Mash and Drum, Bourbon Junkies, whatever, they can go depth. I mean, they can tell you the difference between all the various bottlings of the Elijah Craig, right, and the various differences and the mash bill differences, and you can go super deep on the various bourbon producers. But my goal is to be a master of whiskey, but with a particular focus on Scotch. And same thing happens in the wine world. Sommeliers, if you're going to be a sommelier, you need to have a general understanding of the world of wine. but a lot of sommeliers tend to grab onto a particular region. Burgundy tends to be one of the most popular. German Riesling's really, really popular. So there's a winemaker down in the Santa Barbara area. His name's Raj Par. He'd been a sommelier for 20 years, then became a winemaker. He's like a genius in his understanding of Burgundy. So he wrote a book on being a sommelier, and he has like 3 pages on Bordeaux and probably 50 pages on Burgundy.
Gotcha.
And if you taste his wines, you can tell very much he's influenced by how he does Chardonnays and Pinot Noir. How much he's influenced by Burgundy. That dude knows his Burgundy. And so in a similar fashion where he has become, an aficionado of Burgundy, wines in general, but aficionado on Burgundy, I think I'm leaning more towards, I want to be a generalist and have a good general understanding of the world of whiskey. But then, my passion is going to be for Scotch. I love not just the whiskey, but I love the country, the place, the culture. I love traveling around, even when it rains in the middle of freaking summer and it's 40 degrees. That's just what my leanings are going to be. But I still need to do a series on Japanese whiskey. Kampai Planet. Have you guys ever heard of Kampai Planet, the YouTube channel?
Mm-mm.
He does everything Japanese. He's a Scotsman in Japan. Not his videos are killer. Really fantastic channel. I mean, just the quality of the videos. I mean, just great. He makes me intimidated to do Japanese whiskey because why in the hell would you want to listen to me and watch me when you can watch him? His channels the videos are so well done. But for my own personal study, eventually I need to do videos on Japanese whiskey. But I'm sort of waiting for the industry to get their shit together and get a little more regulated and a little more authentic and transparent about what they do. So, Taylor, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So you're drinking a Redbreast. Do you have much experience with Irish? Obviously, I'm just finished wrapping up a series on Irish whiskeys, and I did an Irish series on last whiskey. Do you have like a general perception of Irish whiskeys?
So my first Irish was a Jameson Stout. So that was, it's a good start. And then I found the Redbreast. A smaller local store had the cask strength, so of course I had to grab one of those. I've got all 4 of the regular spots. I don't have any of the Chateau Greens. I've got 3 Tullamores, the regular, the cider, and the XO, and a Bushmills 10.
Okay.
So
the funny, because the thing about the cider cask is originally it wasn't supposed to be in the retail. It was going to be airport, what do they call that? Duty free only.
Mm-hmm.
But because of COVID, they weren't able to sell it because people weren't traveling. So they expanded the distribution and it made its way into Total Wine and More, which is where I got it at. And it's a decent whiskey. I paid for under $30 for mine. So do you have a particular Irish whiskey? I mean, obviously you got the cask strength from Redbreast, probably one of the best. Do you have a particular favorite?
Just kind of depends on the mood, either the Redbreast or the Green Spot.
Okay.
Or the Yellow Spot. That's kind of, for me, is the quintessential Irish spot still would be the yellow Spot.
Yeah, the Yellow Spot's a little sweeter because you get the Malaga cask in there, and there's other fortified wines in there, so a little more on the sweeter side. But yeah, it's a really, really excellent whiskey. So, Michael, so what was your first whiskey that you kind of jumped into?
Well, man, it's hard to tell at this point. But listen, prior to, or I don't know where to start with this. I used to have a boss who, on Fridays after work, he used to, bring a bottle from home, and that's where I discovered the Green Spot. Prior to that, what I was trying to get into was, I probably didn't have whiskey beyond an old fashioned or whatever was in a cocktail. Right. But it was the first time that I ever had a whiskey that, I didn't like pucker at, and I didn't, necessarily feel that was too potent for me. So I would say that this Green Spot that I'm actually drinking today, I probably had it for the first time in maybe 2017. And that was probably the starting point. Since then, I have had the Redbreast. It was a sampler, so I don't know how much, you can get out of something like that. But I did
Right.
find myself enjoying that as well. It was accessible. I've also tried the Glen Morangi, the core lineup.
Okay.
And I have enjoyed most of those. Not so much the 14-year, but the rest I did enjoy. And I think that's kind of, I mean, listen, you asked me a short question, that was a long answer. But that's kind of, where it started for me.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's funny because a lot of people who are getting into whiskey now, and then people think they're it's just getting a little warm, and they think they're getting started late. I started a lot later than most people who are into whiskeys now. And I would say enjoy the journey. It's not about trying to achieve some sort of end. And enjoy the ride. Take your time with it, and don't feel like you got to spend a ton of money on it. But really enjoy the community part to it as well. For me, that's one of the biggest driving forces is hanging out with people and get to know fellow whiskey tubers and part of the community and all that. To me, that's just as important to me as the whiskey itself.
Gotcha. And I think I just recalled where I first was introduced to your content. I think it was, I saw you on a video of the Whiskey Tribe, and I was okay, well, I have to check this out now.
Yeah. So, what Whiskey Snobs Don't Want You to Know was the title of it.
Yeah.
The funny thing about that video is there's so much stuff that didn't make it into the video. Daniel and I, we could do a 6-hour video and just go off the deep end, and we could go on and on. And it was funny because when recording, and that's Daniel and I, we're ready to just go, both barrels go deep. But Rex is keeping in mind the audience, and he doesn't want to lose the audience, which is mostly a lot of newbies, and so he keeps reining us back in. And then, of course, the way he did the editing, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying,
right.
He's thinking of the audience. He and I are thinking about how much we like to interact, and just really go into it. So I've had Daniel on my channel a couple of times, and then we can just, and then we're hanging out when I'm down there in Texas. In fact, I'll be back down there in January. Looking forward to that. And we can just geek out,
Yeah, it had been a long time.
But there was a lot more shenanigans and just goofing off. It didn't make it to the video as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, you know what? And I actually found, even your content now, I find to be quite accessible. Even though I may not get all the nuance and I may not have the developed palate, I definitely find myself coming back because it is, even as a layman or as a novice, I find myself kind of finding it accessible, right?
Cool.
So that's a good thing. Yeah.
That's the most important thing in the takeaway from going to that school, because it's a marketing school, it's a communication school, is to learn to be a good communicator. It's not about trying to impress people with how much you know and drop a ton of information. It's about spoon feeding a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit of entertainment, trying to make it engaging, so that people will retain the little bits you're giving them, and then to keep them hungry so they want to come back for more.
Gotcha.
It's really what it's all about.
Yeah. Also, a lot of the recommendations I found to be reasonably priced, right? I remember very early on when I started watching the videos, I was like, man, he's going to recommend some $300, $400, $500 whiskeys, $1,000 whiskeys that I'm never going to look at, right? And then when you were like, oh yeah, this bottle's like $54, and I was like, well, I can pay $54 to try a whiskey, right? I was like, I really found that to be part of the accessibility and part of what brought me back, right?
So, in fact, the whiskey that Taylor's drinking, I think I get that for about $55. Taylor, what do you pay for that in your neighborhood?
For this one, it was about $90.
Whoa!
He's got the cask strength, right?
Yeah, the Irish are a little more expensive over here. I don't know why. I think it's just the market, but yeah. Green Spot is about 70.
Oh wow!
Yellow Spot was 100. The regular Redbreast 12 is also 70. And the cask strength was 90.
Because I think the Livre Barton and the Chateau Montelena green spots are like the 90, 100, 100 plus range. The Redbreast 50. You know, if you can get it on like on a special, because I've seen them in grocery stores here, and sometimes they'll have a special you can get it for 55 to $65 in that range. But Michael, when you talk about these rare bottles, the problem if I review a whiskey like this, who in the hell can get it?
It's very limited, the audience, right?
Yeah. So typically the only way you're going to get this is go to the freaking island and be there within a couple months of May 2021, and that's it. There's a guy named he's a subscriber. This G Man is what he uses as his handle. He told me these were available. I had this shipped from Edinburgh, and there were only 3 available, and I bought 2 of them.
So I'm sure that draws a massive markup on the secondary market.
Yeah, actually, and it was about $400 for the 2 of them. So which wasn't that bad.
Right.
And they were actually, and I got the biggest surprise. I got them within a week. I was expecting a 3-month shipment. I was expecting it to take forever. So that's actually pretty fast as well.
Yeah, especially with the issue we have with the ports out here, right?
Right. So Taylor, is it prices tend to be a little higher, you think, on average in Florida?
At least for the Irish, it is. Yeah. Just the regular stuff that you review that you get the prices for, it tends to be pretty average for a lot of the scotches anyway.
So I know some of the southern states are a little challenging to have. If you want to order online and have shipped in, are kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, Florida's pretty open actually. I actually just got a couple of bottles at Scotch Whisky auction. I haven't had them shipped over yet, but it's pretty open with Florida.
Okay.
Just kind of piggybacking on the price thing, yeah, there definitely must be a markup on the out in Florida, because just looking at my local, kind of the place where I would go to get any bottle. Out here, I'm looking at Irish 12 Redbreast 12, $56. Cask strength is 68. So, yeah, definitely, you're paying a premium down there.
So, Dustin, Top Shelf Dustin, if you ever seen his name in the chat, and he gets some killer whiskeys. He's got an insane whiskey collection. He does some really nice stuff. One of his complaints is that California does we get more availability and we tend to get better prices. And I don't know the reason for that. I can get Springbank easier than they can in Scotland.
That's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. So I don't know what the deal is with that, but I see him all the time, and I'm like, what do people complain about? I'm gonna start grabbing them since they're hard to get elsewhere, just in case the market dries up.
It's kind of funny because like you have mentioned a lot of whiskeys, and I'll go to the local spot where I usually pick up my stuff, and whether it's Bunnahabhain or Port Charlotte or whatever the whiskey might be, it's rare occasion where I don't find it. And maybe it's something that we take for granted, right? Just out here.
So where do you typically shop in the LA area?
There's a place called Ramirez Beverage Center. Okay. It's kind of like a big, I think they distribute to just kind of like restaurants and places in the area. But they have it's just a huge place, and they've got just aisles of every spirit for anything that's over like call it $50-$60. They've got a place behind the register, and you can pretty much ask, So I was looking for I don't know, you might be familiar with these guys. I was looking for St. George Absinthe the other day, just because.
Oh yeah, in Alameda. Alameda.
So I was, I use this in cocktails all the time, and I was like, well, I might as well just upgrade to a big bottle. And I asked them for it, and they had it behind the register, and that was surprising. They've had. They've got this guy, the Nika from the barrel that I picked up. I got these with relative ease, and again, it's something that we take for granted out here just because of I don't know why, but thankful for that.
So there's a K&L down in that area, but there's another one. Is it Mission Spirits?
Mission Spirits is a major distributor down here. Yeah.
So so I actually from LA, I get them as well. We got another person jumping in who looks like he's got quite the collection behind him. Looks like Ken.
It's gonna put us to shame.
How you doing, man?
Good, man. Light on stream, mate. How you going?
Join in on the pot still.
Okay, so I hear an accent here. Where are you from, sir?
West Coast of Western Australia.
Oh, Australia. Wow, that's awesome. So what time of the day is it down there?
It's currently 4:10 in the hour.
What, 4:10 in the afternoon?
No.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
it's time to have a dream. So I'll have some of the green spot. Chateau Louis Vuitton.
Oh, there we go. Wow,
everybody's
here drinking Irish tonight, and I'm the only one drinking Scotch.
Well, everyone else is drinking Irish, so I thought I'd jump in as well.
There you go.
We colluded.
Yep, we did.
So the Chateau Montelena is done in a Zinfandel cask, and the Zin really shows through. I prefer the Louisville Barton Bargas. So I've actually been to the chateau there in Bordeaux, and I won't go on and on about that. But the funny thing is it's actually when I was doing the tour. So I was traveling with the Wine Scholar Guild, so a bunch of students, and our tour guide was Jeff. He wrote the book on peated. He wrote a book on peated whiskey as well as wines. Anyway, the person who was giving us a tour, she pronounced it Louisville Barton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I was like, "What?" So I turned to this guy. There was only one Frenchman in the class. I asked him. I said, "How would you pronounce that?" And he goes, "Louisville Barton." And I'm like,
Louisville Barton.
Oh, that's really weird.
And he's like, I butcher it all the time.
Yeah. So everybody goes around. Oh yeah, Louisville Barton. But Barton was actually an Irishman, which is the reason why they're doing an Irish whiskey in the cask.
Yeah, I read that.
As well as
in the intro,
a family that owns Chateau Montelena is also Irish, which is why they're doing them. So it's actually there's one of the first growth of Bordeaux is Chateau O'Brien, which is actually Chateau O'Brien.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so everybody's going, "Oh, Chateau O'Brien," and I've been to that winery, almost said distillery, and you're Chateau O'Brien. Oh, it's a No, it's O'Brien.
G'day, Faz. G'day, James. Hey, Whisky lovers.
Anyway, so cool. So, do you have a whiskey channel by any chance?
Yeah, Scotch Down Under. Yep.
Oh, Scotch Down Under. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
If you want, you can put a link in the chat, or I'll see if I can. Maybe I can do it. Or I don't have any moderators. I think Matt probably went to bed. But I'll see if I can put a link in there to get people to subscribe and check you out.
I'll stick it in the private chat, and then you can post.
There you go.
Because I'm not modded.
Well, if I put it in there, the link will actually work.
Well, it's your channel, so you should be able to post your own link.
Well, no, yeah, but if you post your link in my channel, it might not. I'll subscribe while I'm at it.
No, it won't let me because I'm not a mod.
Yeah, so it's only a moderator. So I'm going to copy and
so I can put it in the private chat.
All right. So now I can put it in there, and it'll show up, and other people can check you out. So there you go. That link should work. There you go. All right, cool, man. I should probably do more live streams in the middle of the night to get people on from other parts of the world. It's kind of cool.
Well, because normally you're on at like 4:00 in the morning for me. Yeah, it's like it's a bit hard.
Right. Yeah, I typically go 5 o'clock. So typically, like what I like to do is come home from work Friday. Long work week. Come home from Friday. Kind of chill out, relax. It's the way to wind down at the end of a week. Do a live stream, not to worry about getting up the next morning, and then so do something educational, informative, interacting, and that's a good way for me to end the week. But the reason why I'm doing this in the middle of the night, as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, is I've been working a lot of hours, a lot of extra days, a lot of crazy hours, so my sleep schedule is all jacked up because I've been on travel and then having to work my days off and extra time. So I meant to take a 1 hour nap and end up sleeping for 7 hours.
Yeah, I heard that at the beginning.
So I woke up at like 10 o'clock at night, and I'm like, well, now I'm real well rested. What am I going to do now?
Have a dream.
Have a drink. But then I thought, well, I could record a video, but I thought, you know what? Screw that. Let's just for shits and giggles. Let's see who shows up. And I do a live stream, and I'm quite surprised how many people. We got 14 people now. I think we had 30 people at one time. So I'm quite surprised. And I thought, what the hell? Open the channel up and get to meet some people around the world. I got a Floridian, I feel like Californian, and now a gentleman from down under. So that's cool.
Oh, he is West Australian as well. There you go. West Aussie.
Oh, cool.
Look at his setup too. It is fantastic and putting us to shame. I'm sitting here just on my counter.
So, so are you anywhere near, like, say, Margaret River?
Oh, no, way north of that. Like, I was actually born down that way. So from where the Limeburners distillery is, that's my hometown. So that they formed that distillery when I left, to my disgust. So I'm actually north of Perth, the capital in Western Australia.
Oh, okay,
so
okay.
I'm north of there.
So one of the things that
We're going to do a trip down there and actually do some distillery tours and winery tours.
So one of the things that both wine and whiskey do in studying it, you learn culture, history, science, geography. My knowledge of geography was limited to the Bible area from my seminary studies, and playing the game Risk. You guys ever play Risk? So so I'm gonna attack Kamchatka. That's as much that was my understanding of geography. But studying wine, and studying of Australian wines, I became much more familiar with the geography and the names of places of Australia. And so now when someone says, they're in South Australia or something, then Barossa Valley.
Yeah, you got Barossa Valley, Margaret
River,
Mount Barker. You know all those. Yep.
Yeah. So to really understand the world, you need to understand whiskey and wine, because the wine regions is France, Italy, Germany, Spain, Austria, Australia. I was in Australia and so forth. And the Scotch whiskey regions is Kentucky, Texas, Scotland, Ireland. Those are not wine regions, generally speaking.
Nope.
Japan. You get some Canadian wine and so forth. So to really understand the world of geography, you need to study wine and whiskey.
I totally agree.
So you're Scotch Down Under, but you're pouring in Irish. So do you mostly do Scotch, or do you do a little bit of everything?
Predominantly Scotch. I mean, as like before, you were saying you had 25% bourbons. Like, I've got a bunch of bourbons. Bottles have been donated, and because it's pretty hard to access a lot of bourbons here without paying the exorbitant taxes and fees we have to pay. So, but yeah, mostly Scotch, and then I've got Taiwanese, Japanese, Ireland, Australian, of course, and a bit of everything, but predominantly Scotch.
Yeah. You should talk about the taxes. Everybody's bitching. Every time someone bitches about a distillery increasing prices, so the Ardbeg 5 now has the price range of Ardbeg 10, where the Ardbeg 10 used to be, and then Ardbeg 10 has moved up $5 to $10.
And the same with the 8.
Yeah. So you have the Ardbeg 8?
Yeah, I got a couple of them committee release there. I just popped it on a stream a couple of days ago.
Did you have them shipped in, or did you get them locally?
No, I got them shipped. So they actually opened up the committee here in Australia, so I picked up 2 bottles.
I don't have that. I would very much like a bottle. I should probably just spend the money and buy it. Have it shipped over.
Yeah, I grabbed 2 because they had free shipping, so it was like $120 Australian each bottle, and then free shipping it was $200. So I went, what the heck? I'll grab 2 bottles for them.
So what's your general impression in comparison to the other Ardbegs?
I've only had a neck pour, so I won't judge it yet. But so far, not that good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd rather the 10 over it.
Okay.
Definitely. I mean, the 5, I'm not really much of a fan of. I do like that raw peanut flavor. Remember when I was a young lad, my dad grew some peanuts, and we had to wait the 4 years, and we took them straight out of the garden with the dirt on them, and took them straight out of the shell, and that was the best peanut flavor I've ever had. The Ardbeg 5 Wee Beastie reminds me of that. Other than that, I find it kind of lacking, and the price is so close, within $5-10 here.
Well, when people compare the prices, 72% of the cost of a Scotch whiskey is freaking taxes.
Oh yeah,
That's
and then you get the taxes here in Australia, which is
So if you want to bitch about the
Exorbitant.
price,
Yeah.
bitch about the freaking government. Tell them assholes.
I do all the time because we're like number
To
one
lower
or
the
number
freaking
two
taxes.
in the world with our taxes.
Okay.
Yeah, our
Okay.
taxes.
And if you understand history, what's the number one reason for the high taxes on whiskey?
Well, it's definitely they're trying to squash the alcohol consumption, and they want
so.
profit.
You would think so, and that's
They want
often
profit.
said as a justification, but it isn't the real reason.
No,
It-
they make so much
I
money
watched-
off the tax.
It's
I watched
war
the
debt.
history. Oh, really?
It's war debt.
That's true.
It's not. They're not paying to pave the roads. They're not. That money's not going to the schools to teach your children. That money is not to improve the infrastructure of the freaking country. It's war debt. Go watch my history on this. Watch my videos on the history of Scotch whiskey. It's war debt. It's getting into bullshit fucking wars and having to pay for it. That is the number one, and that's where that taxes increases. So the more you go to freaking wars and get tied up in wars and spend trillions of dollars, and I'm getting political here, going into war deficits, that's what that money is going for. All right, I'm not going
Now, is this now? I do want to know a little more about that. Now, is this include modern warfare? I guess depending on where we're from.
Yep.
Well, it's all World War I, World War II, Korea,
Yeah.
Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq. It's all continuation.
That is mind blowing. That
It's expensive and profitable.
Yeah.
Just a quick question with regards to the expression of the Ardbeg that is on the screen here. Now, is this just between the 10 and the 8? Is this just a 2-year variance? And I guess the reason I asked that is no. Is 2 different whiskeys completely?
Well, this one's a high ABV. This is 50.8. This is the committee release. So the normal release, I don't know what's going to come out. It's probably only about 48 or something like that.
Probably 46.
I can't point
Typically,
in
the other
other
release is
research in the
46.
information. Yeah, I don't think this is finished. It doesn't say anything. I don't think it's finished. I think it's just straight ex-bourbon cast. Whereas there's a little bit of sherry in the 10. But I've only had a neck pour, so I'm pretty new to this one, so
Okay.
I won't give a judgment yet. But from the first impression that I had after I had a few drams, it was a bit lacking.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of, but this kind of ties back to us talking at the beginning, is not judging a whiskey by neck pour.
I never do. No.
Yeah, so you got to kind of.
And I was listening when you were talking about that. Oh my
Yeah.
God, it changes so much. I've had whiskeys that I hated when I first had them, like the Glendronach traditionally peated. Hated that. I thought it was boring, dull, bland, and then halfway down the bottle, I'm like, holy shit, I'm picking up this, and I'm picking up this, and this, and now I'm a big fan of it. I didn't even realize it was port finished until I looked on the label, because I was picking up port flavors in it, and I'm like, oh, this has got some nice dark fruits and a bit of chocolate, and I'm like, yeah, this is nice. I remember this is a port finish, and I looked at the label. Oh, I should read the label more. That's a recurring theme in my channel.
There's this thing called Google. You should try it out once in a while.
Yeah, I know. It's like, no, I just got a bottle. I want to pop it and try it. I ain't got time for no research.
So Taylor,
I
are
do
you
it
into
afterwards.
peated whiskeys at all?
Yeah, I saw James comment earlier. Yeah, I have quite a few peats. I've got Ardbegs. I've already finished a bottle of the 10. I've got the Anoa, the Corey Brecken, and the Ugdal. So I have all the core range.
Cool.
I have
Cool.
Lagavulin. I love Campbelltown. I see you got a Kilcarran 12 on your shelf
you
behind
want
you.
Campbelltown.
I love that one.
Campbelltown. Love me
Kilcarran
some
12. That's
Campbelltown,
my
man.
favorite.
Yeah, Kilcarran 12, but then I got a bunch of Glen Scotias, because
Yeah, you got a Glen Scotia 10 peated. Yeah.
Yep. So I just did a review on the new 2021 Springbank 10, and I've got a 15 hide and wave, but then I've got a couple of exclusive Glen Scotias. This is a 20-year-old finished in a cigar pipe red wine finish, which is delicious. Quite sulfury and but very tasty. Yeah, I love the Glen Scotia.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah,
kind of-
I'm a peathead.
Oh, me too. I mean, I've got. Well, Lagavulin 16 I always describe as my desert island dram, but yeah, I've got like the 10, I mean the 12, the 8. I've got a whole bunch of them there. Yeah, give me all of them.
Especially I know your seasons are different. We're just now getting into the cooler weather. It's been raining. It's colder. It's been dropping down to about 38 degrees in the middle of the night. It's 65
Yep,
in
yep.
the afternoon, which when I get colder weather, then I'm more in the mood for peated. In the middle of summer, I'm not so much. But you guys are not.
See, I find that strange because I'm the complete opposite to that. I'm the complete opposite. I don't find any temperature change because we're coming into summer now where it's going to be 115 and all that kind of crap. So, 40 degrees Celsius for me is pretty normal in the summer months. If I don't want to drink any peat, then or anything that's got a bit of kick to it, then I'm not going to be drinking for months and months and months. So I drink no matter whether it's 40 degrees or 4 degrees. I'll drink any whiskey anytime.
Like being in Texas,
for me whatsoever. Pretty much. Oh, I love me some Texas. I got the Balcones. The Balcones
it's like living in Texas. It's like living in Texas.
It's pretty much Texas. It's like Texas. Yeah, you're not bloody wrong. That's why our Australian whiskey is, matures very rapidly and quickly depending where it is in Australia. Similar to Texas.
So Australia's like Texas, but with weirder animals.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, we got some weird animals. We're proud of our weird animals. Yeah, we got lots of insects, but they're all harmless. They're not out to kill you.
Just don't mess with the lizards.
The lizards are pretty cool. I've got some few geckos around at the moment. They're pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
I love geckos. Yeah.
So how long have you been doing the whiskey tuber thing?
I'll be 3 years in... No, 2 years. 2 years? 3 years.
Okay.
I've lost track now. In February. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I would...
2 years.
This isn't mathematical. I don't have the hard facts or stats on this, but I would say there's about, when people start up, about an 80% dropout rate within 2 years. People get started, they don't know what it takes to do a channel. They don't realize how much time, how much money, the editing, and they don't get the quick growth that they thought they would get, and so people fizzle out. Or they have more, or they got kids and work and school. Things more important in life,
all of that. I'm
self.
self-employed with 3 businesses, got a kid, got a family, and we do 3 of us on stream when we do our reviews. So it's like the Scotch for Dummies. We have to get 3 of us together and logistics of getting that. And then, yeah.
Just like Bourbon Insane, he had a really good channel. He was really, really going really, really well, but they bought a farm and they had a 3rd child. So he's got 3 little ones. And he's a pharmacist in the middle of freaking a COVID pandemic. So it's no surprise he hasn't been putting out videos in a long period of time. So I'm sympathetic with that. So I'm always curious to see if someone makes it past the 3-year mark and they still have momentum and they're still increasing and still improving and still going on, then I can kind of tell, okay, they're going to hang it. They're not going to fizzle out. Like Alan, he just had his 3rd anniversary at Whiskey Friend.
Yep, Whiskey Friend now.
He's balls to the wall, man. And the improvements to his channel, the videos, everything to it, I've helped him out a little bit. He's doing a fantastic job. And he's a great guy, very entertaining, great personality. He speaks better English now, I think, or at least I'm starting to understand him.
I never had a problem understanding him, but that's me. Yeah, we've had a few drinks together on stream.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Dustin and myself. I think it was one morning he was going for. I think he did a 6-hour stream or whatever, and I jumped on. It was my Monday morning, and I quit the work day and jumped on with Dustin and Ellen and had a few drams. Yeah, it was a good day.
Yeah. So I'll see if I put another link in here. So if people haven't checked out your channel, there we go. Check out Scotch Down Under. So how big is the? I know I'm curious. I'm more familiar with the whiskey tuber community in the United States because of the time zones of when people go live and stuff. So obviously I'm familiar with Ralphie and Aquavite, Vin over at Nonsense Whiskey and Whiskey. Alan, we're just talking about. He's a Scot, but he's in Manchester. There's the Whiskey Geek in I think he's in Scotland. There's Whiskey Jason in Germany. But that's about, and of course,
Whiskey Novice in Ireland. Then you got Frederick and
Jim Ingram.
Yep.
Whiskey Novice. I love that guy. I've had him on my channel twice. And Another
Swedish
Irish.
whiskey girl.
Yeah.
She's in Scotland.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how big is? I'm curious about the whiskey tuber phenomenon grower that you would be more familiar with than I would in Australia. How's that going?
Well, in Australia itself, we've got Prestige Liquids over east. So that's Andrew. So he
Yeah, I've
does
heard of that.
mostly Australian whiskies. Yep. But then you've got a couple of young lads. They're doing a bit of everything. So they're doing a bit of bourbon and a bit of straight. They're only a brand new channel. They're only just starting. Then you've got a couple other small channels. So when it comes to Australian whiskey 2 content, there isn't too much. It's pretty small.
Okay.
And definitely there's a couple of sole operators that are doing stuff over in the West Coast and East Coast as well. So very small. And obviously the time zones definitely makes a difference. So I'm more knowledgeable about all the other whiskey tubers, in the States and in Europe and everything like that. So, yeah.
So it's hard to get Australian whiskeys here. The only two I've had 2 bottles from Lark out of Tasmania.
Yep.
But they were sent to me by Tom R. If you know him from the chats, he picked them up in Chicago and sent them and gave them to me. So, but they're generally not available here in California. So, how big?
No, well, the production in Australia is very, very small. The only one that's really starting to step up its game now is Starwood.
I have one of theirs.
So they're coming a lot of the states, and now they're even bringing store picks with Starwood as well, which we can't even get here, which is a bit insane. So they've got a French oak store pick floating around at the moment that a few whiskey tubers have got their hands on. I'm like, how did you get your hands on that? But so Starwood is really stepping up their production and their distribution throughout Europe and the US at the moment, which is good to see.
Yeah, I've seen Starwood here in Florida.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm sorry, I stepped in. You said something about one in Florida?
I've seen Starwood here in Florida.
Oh, okay.
A couple different spots.
Yeah, you'll get the twofold, the Nova, the Solara, the Fortis, and now there's the store pick floating around.
Eric, the local spot has the Starwood available. It is kind of speaking, just stitching back and kind of talking about just being spoiled with the selection that we have on the West Coast. It's available at the local spot.
Yep.
So,
it's quite impressive, their distribution.
So, Ken, where did you start with whiskey?
I probably, like everybody, started with your Jim Beam and your Jack Daniels and a bit of Jameson and all that kind of stuff, mixing it and getting way too drunk in my youth. And then about 15 years ago, I started drinking Glenfiddich, just neat. And it was kind of a mixed bag. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I didn't. But then I first tried Glenlivet 12 and I went, okay, this is good. Then I went to Germany and tried the Glenlivet 18-year-old in a bar in Berlin. And I went, oh, this is what whiskey's about. And that was about 8 years ago, 10 years ago now.
Wow.
So, and then, I just fell down the rabbit hole and never going to come back out.
So you've been into whiskey a lot longer than I have, because I've actually only been into it for about 6 years. But I jumped in it with both feet and went full barrel and went nuts with it. So I've made up for lack of time with the volume and intensity of it. For people,
I would say myself would be about 5 years. 5 years, I'd be pretty full on. Before that, it was just a few bottles. I'd have 20 bottles or something like that, and then it's just got more and more and more and more.
So, what point did you get into peated whiskey?
Oh, pretty much straight away.
Okay.
I think I tried. I can't even remember what my first peated was, and I'm like, oh, I like this. This is good. And Lagavulin was probably the first one I tried, but then anything Isla, I love it all. Can't get enough of it. And then any other peaty stuff, I'll try the pretty much anything I can get my hands on. Big fan. Love the peat.
Yeah, I would say for the Southern Isla peated, I think Lagavulin is probably a little bit more approachable.
Agreed.
It's more integrated. It's not as briny. So it's not like Lafroig, and it's not as muddy as Ardbeg is. It's a lot more integrated, a little fruitier. Maybe it's a little more gentle. And so it's
then you've got your Brookladdies and your Bunnahabens and your Kalilas and You know, you got all those as well, plus your Highland Peats. I mean, I'm really enjoying some Highland Peat now.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
and I saw your series with all the Highland Peats, and
Yeah.
one of my favorites would be where is it? The Benrick 21 Temporis. Big fan.
Oh yeah.
I'm just ashamed that it's discontinued, but yeah, this is one of my favorites. I'm a big fan of this. The Curiositas I wasn't a fan of. And some of the Ben Romics. I'm getting the new Benrick 12 Smoky. That's arriving soon. So I'm curious to try that one. Dustin just popped it on a stream a while ago, and he said it was good on his first impression.
So so Michael's not so much into peat. He hasn't got into it yet. If you were to recommend to Michael,
You will.
well, not everybody does. Not everybody does. So
Not
if you were to
everybody
recommend-
does. That is true.
If you were to recommend to Michael a start into introduction to peat, where would you start with?
Okay, so what have you had so far in the world of peat?
In the world of peat, I've had Lagavulin 16, Lafroig 10. This guy here, the Kilcommon.
Kilhaman?
Yeah.
Macchiato.
Yeah. Do I have anything else that's peated? I believe that's it. So, that's 3.
And which one did you like out of all those?
Lagavulin 16.
Oh, well, there you go. Lagavulin 16. All
Yeah,
right.
I just found that it was the one of the 3 where the peatiness was not overpowering, and you could still get some of the sweetness that was structured into the whiskey, and I was able to enjoy it. Still wasn't quite my favorite, but I was able to enjoy that.
I think
So do
it's
you like the smoky characteristic a bit more with the sweetness?
Yes.
I think it's that briny, oceanic, or medicinal notes, particularly medicinal notes, that a lot of people don't like.
What am I looking at? here?
Elsa Bay.
Yep, Ulster
Yes,
Bay 1.2. Oop, why did that do that? Punch it.
Oops, shit. Sorry, I just took it off by accident. I'm trying to.
Punch it.
I was actually trying to zoom them in.
Yeah, I'm trying to zoom myself in. Punch it.
Zolo.
My voice commands are not working now.
Do you still have
Anyway,
your side camera out?
I'm screwed up. I don't have enough practice doing it. I don't want to take them off. I wanted to zoom in on them.
Yeah,
but
so
I
it's-
probably screwed up.
Ulster Bay 1.2, the sweet smoke. So it's lovely bunch of sweetness and the smoky part of it as well. So if you like the Lagavulin 16 with that sweet and the smoke, and less of the peat, iodine, band-aids kind of thing, I think that one you might enjoy.
And that's a
And it's really
lowland.
accessible.
That's a lowland, correct?
Lowland, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha. I will. I'll keep an eye out for it. And
Keep an open mind.
No, I mean, listen.
Keep an open mind.
An open mind is definitely
everything.
something that I'm coming into this with. Actually, one of the questions that I was going to ask you is, I do see Ardbeg from time to time because it is, at the local spot, and I was going to ask you, knowing that it is your favorite, if there was an expression that you would recommend, to the entry level person.
So, I would actually might recommend the NO because it's a PX cask, and PX is a sticky wine. It can be almost like syrup, and so when you use a PX cask and you put peated whiskey into it, it grabs onto that peat and kind of grabs it. And what happens is it could be at the same ppm as the other whiskeys, but that intensity of the peat character can be somewhat masked by the sweetness and so forth, and the way in which a PX cask is just going to grab that peat and kind of mask it, not in a bad way. And so the NO is a well-balanced whiskey. A lot of times PX cask can be overbearing, but it's a well-balanced whiskey that I would say it's not a lighter peat, technically speaking, but in terms of the way it seems, it's not as intense on the peat as some of the other Ardbegs, and it's sweeter. If the sweeter is also going to be really enjoyable as well. So I actually would recommend maybe checking out the NO. Taylor, Ken, you got any thoughts on that?
I would say
I'd say
also
the
the 10 too, because once you get halfway down the bottle with the 10, it really sweetens up. I find a lot of sweetness comes through with the 10 when you're halfway down. So that's always a good one as well.
Taylor, what do you think?
Yeah, from the start, I think the NO is a little bit turned down compared to the 10 because that 10 can come out and punch you in the face. It's just opening the bottle. But yeah, once you get down halfway, it tones down quite a bit.
I've got a special bottling of the NO, which I haven't opened yet. It's got that weird barbecue container thing.
Oh yeah, I just picked that up too.
Oh yeah. I know the one, the silver one.
I'm looking around for it. I don't know where in the hell it went. It doesn't. It's too tall to fit.
You can always go crazy and just go for an oogie.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know what? I have seen a handful of these just around, and I've just always been a little bit intimidated because I'm just like, they've all got intimidating names. I can't pronounce any of them.
Go to a bar. go to a bar.
Just try them.
Yeah, that's one of the best ways to do it.
I've seen that one. That's the
that's the NO.
That's the barbecue one, right?
Yep.
But I will never use this for doing a barbecue thing. I just think it looks cool.
Yeah.
It looks freaking awesome.
That's the reality of it. The one problem is this is so damn tall, it won't fit on my shelves. So I bought it because it looked cool, and eventually I'll finish my current bottle of NO. So what the hell is? And I didn't know if it would disappear, but I had no intention of ever using this for. It'd be a cool lamp. You could put a lamp and the light would come through.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, it might be a cool lamp.
Yeah, with the lights in it. And I have to agree with you, Luke. One of my favorite spots is the yellow. I'm a big fan.
So I'll take the suggestion. I'll pick that up because I do see that one every day. So not every day, but every day that I'm in the store, I will see that one. So I'll pick that one up.
So the Corey
I will report back.
Yeah, if you like the green, I'll grab it.
The Corey Vrecken and Ugador are my favorites in terms of the core range, but they are higher ABV. The Corey Vrecken, particularly, is a more intense peaty character. Ugador, the sherry cask, is really nice combo. But in terms of like easing your way into it, the Ardbeg price wise and ABV wise is a little more entry, and it's a nice 10-year-old. But in terms of if you want to approach it with a more sweeter side, then I would go with the NO. It's actually a really, really nice dram.
Mm-hmm. Have you tried this one, Eric? The Loch Lomond single grain peated?
Single grain peated. Nope, don't have that one.
It's interesting, very interesting. You pour it and it looks like water in the glass. There's no coloring or anything with it, and it's quite tasty. And I know that Roy only just tried it, and he was quite taken back with it as well. So that's
a single grain. You tell me it's a non-malt.
Yeah, single grain. No, it's malted barley, but it's done in the coffee still, so they have to call it.
Oh, that's weird.
They did two versions. So they did a floral and sweet, and then they did an unpeated.
Okay, Kilhoman,
unpeated floral and sweet, and then a peated.
I've been to Kilhoman, and they don't have a coffee still. Where in the hell did they?
No, it's Loch Lomond.
Loch Lomond.
Oh, Loch Lomond. I'm sorry.
Lomond.
It's 12:43 in the morning here. Okay, Loch Lomond. Actually, I don't have any bottlings. I've never reviewed anything from Loch Lomond. I may have tasted some sometime, but
just a straight Loch Lomond.
Okay,
I reckon you'll like it. They're really good stuff. I'm on a big kick with Loch Lomond and their sister company, Glen Scotia, at the moment. I reckon they're doing great stuff.
Right. So I've been to Glen Scotia. Loch Lomond, they don't do tours. They don't respond to emails. At least they don't respond to mine.
Nah. Which is strange.
Jim Ingram over at Whiskey Novice, he's toured Loch Lomond. I was like, son of a bitch, man. Next time I'm over there, let them know, hey, my friend Eric's coming over. Let him do a tour.
Yeah. You let Eric in, let me in.
I'll grow my beard back.
Yeah.
It helps.
I remember when you first came, when you were at the Bastard's Ball, and everyone's like, "Where's your beard? Where's your beard?"
Yeah. Well, so when the mask, I'm not making a promise. When the mask requirement goes away, I will consider regrowing the beard. What happens is, so the beard comes out here. You wear a mask all freaking day. It puts an indentation, so the beard curls up like this, and so then you got to be combing it, and it just becomes a freaking hassle. and you're constantly every time you take the mask off, you got to pull out it's screw it. I just get tired of that bullshit. That wasn't the only reason why. There were other reasons why, but starting a new job, new place to live. I thought, hey, new fresh face, but whatever. But Shayla, Whisky Central, saying, Eric, you got to grow the beard back. So okay, all right. So when they get away with the mask thing permanently and don't bring the sucker back, I'll consider growing the beard back. But no promises.
It's also annoying because you'll get ready for the day, you'll brush it, you'll put stuff in it, and then first thing you need to do is put a mask right over it and ruin it all.
Yeah, and the whole thing's bullshit. But I'm not going to get onto that. I think the whole thing's bullshit. I've been vaccinated, been circumcised. I had an enema. I shouldn't have to wear a freaking mask.
Eric, wait, Whiskey Studies After Dark.
So, there's even videos of freaking Fauci saying that you shouldn't have to wear a mask and all this kind of crap. That it's not helping. Mask up, and in order to make a mask effective, you take a mask off, you put it on your desk, you pick it up, you stick it in your pocket. Everything you do with your mask is completely negating the advantage of wearing a mask, the way in which you handle masks. So it's just bullshit, but whatever. All right, I'm not going to go on about that. So I'm hoping to go back to Scotland next year, but I'm not going to Scotland and wear a mask every fucking place. I'll wait until.
Yeah.
It's over.
But Eric, you said earlier that you were going down to Texas in January. When are you planning to do that? Because I was actually thinking of doing that sometime January or February.
So let me get my calendar real quick. I'll be there the week of 10th through the 14th. 10th to the 14th. So I'm doing the level 2 class at the Whiskey School, and this has not been announced. So you're hearing it here for the first time. I'll be teaching another class there probably on the 13th.
Ooh, nice.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah, so the first time I was there, I taught a class on sherry cask finished whiskeys. I need to work this out with Daniel and my brain's Zach Smith.
Okay.
Do we want to do a repeat of what I taught before, or I think we're doing an overview of just fortified wines and whiskeys. So I would do a short introduction on sherry, short introduction on Madeira, port, Marsala, and it would just be kind of a book and get it done within 2 hours. Or do we want to sort of do another thing, do a repeat of the thing I did on sherry, which I also did on my channel, because I bought whiskeys and Daniel has them in his office, sherry cask whiskeys, and actually I would actually bring the Bunnahabhain Pedro Jimenez cask with me because I got 2 of them. In fact, I bought a whole bunch of extra bottles just for bringing down there. So anyway, I'll work it out with them. But definitely, I'll be teaching a class down there as well. It just hasn't been announced yet. So it'll probably be free for anybody who takes the level 2 class, and then it'll probably, I don't know, they have to work it out and then open it up to others as well, as long as, depending on how many people they can fit in the room during this COVID bullshit era. Yeah, but we'll see how it goes. So I've been down there probably, I don't know, maybe 10 times or whatever. Visiting distilleries. I like the people. I like the whiskeys. I don't like the weather, and I don't like the bugs.
The weather and the bugs are about the same here in Florida.
Yeah.
It doesn't get up to 110 degrees, but it's still 90 degrees with 100% humidity most days.
So when I was there for the Bachelor's Ball, and a bunch of us whiskey tubers were all, so a bunch of whiskey tubers, we were in there hanging out in the vault. And we're tasting this. Of course, the only people who can allowed to pour are people who've gone through the somm class. So I'm pouring stuff for people. And I'm standing with Mark from Scotch for Dummies. He goes, "Look, a scorpion." I was like, "What?" And there was a scorpion on the wall, scurrying on the wall, and went behind one of the whiskey cabinets. But if you're in Texas, you're like, "Yeah." But us, we're like, "Oh shit!"
I don't think I've ever seen a scorpion in person.
Oh, there's plenty out here.
You have dinner plate-sized spiders too, right?
Well, so the thing is, I'm
we
staying.
got everything.
So they have a student housing in there, which is very, very, very nice. And so I was staying in student housing. Everybody else was staying like in hotels and stuff. And so fortunately the bed, in order to get on the bed, you almost need like a step stool. They're really high off the floor. And I don't know if it's to keep the scorpions out of the bed. They do have legs, so they could crawl up the legs, or to keep maybe help reduce the critters getting into the beds. But when you see a scorpion, like before you get to bed, you lift up the sheets and you lift up the covers. Got to go around the run. You don't want any bugs biting you or crawling all over you in the middle of the sleep. So,
Yep, you're gonna have to get a bottle of that.
Question for you, Eric. I know that you have mentioned that you are a big fan of what Balcones is doing, and I'm just curious if you can kind of explain what they are doing to separate themselves from the pack.
So actually, I'll be doing another series on Balcones, and I'll be doing the lineage. I'm looking at the bottles: the Froke, the Mirador, and the Peated.
No brimstone?
No, I haven't reviewed that one. I should probably do that one of these days.
I like the brimstone.
The ones I like,
Those
which are hard to get, the
ones.
Brujeria and the Hechiceros. One's a rum cask, and the other one is a sherry cask. So they're single malts. Number one, although they do a bourbon, and they do a rye, but I think the natural inclination for people in Texas and with their weather is to go into bourbons. That's sort of the natural inclination. So the fact that they really stand out as a single malt, I think they do a lot of experimentation, and it's constantly trying different things and experimenting with things. I think they're really, 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 really good at blending. In fact, I don't know if you guys heard, but Emma left the Crowded Barrel with their blessing.
Yeah,
and is now and now she's at Balcones. She went over there to do like a little experimentation sort of a thing with blending, and I think that was sort of like, hey, we need to steal Emma and bring her over here, bring her on staff, and so they kind of yank, that's the nature of the business, to move on there, and she's going there with their full blessings and all that, and they had a going away thing. But I think that's the thing, and the advantage is, if you're going to do experimentation in a cooler region such as Scotland or Ireland, just the turnaround time to see the results of your experiment is going to take you longer. It's going to, So same thing in wine, because if you're going to plant a grape, it's going to take you 4 to 5 years to get a decent harvest, and then you're talking a couple of years of aging, and then letting those wines age. So you're probably looking at least a 10-round turnaround time to see the fruit of your labor and your experiment, see what you got. But with a climate such as Balcones, within 2.5 years, they can see they have a better turnaround time, and so you can keep making adjustments. Let's do this, let's tweak this, let's tweak this, let's tweak this, and so you can have a lot of casks that you're not ever. Yeah, you have a lot of casks you're never releasing because you're just tweaking, and so if you do a tour around the place and you see where they have a gazillion samples where they're just constantly experimenting with doing blending. So how to mitigate the extremes of the climate, the ability to do I think a quick turnaround in terms of experiments, and then becoming really masters of blending is really what they have. And to think outside the box in terms of what's possible, what they can do, is probably what their strengths are. But yeah, it's definitely the single malts. But I think that's really what they're at now. Iron Root, they're a bourbon, although now they have this joint venture with Chris Tarantino, in which they're using MGP and bourbon, their own bourbon, and they're experimenting with Armagnac and Cognac casks. So they're doing some experimentation that way, but it's still within the sort of the bourbon lane, if you think of it. So I think that's the main thing with Balcones. You have still Austin, which does bourbon, and then you have Andalusia, which also does single malts. But Andalusia is newer, and it's I would say smaller because they're you don't have the distribution with Andalusia, but they're also doing their own thing and their own style and their own way. They're not imitating Balcones, but if they can grow a little bit, they would be another. I think a great representation as to what the capabilities of single malts out of Texas could do. So if you're ever in Texas, you're ever down there, all within Andalusia is within short range of the Vault and all that, or the Whiskey Academy in that area in Austin, Texas.
Did you go over there when you were down there for the bus as well? Because I know a lot of people did. They ducked over there.
So I had a brain fart. we were supposed to have a Whiskey Tuber meetup at Still Austin. And in my head, I had so much going on. I actually went over to Milam and Green to pick up a bottle for a colleague to pick up a bottle. And then right down the road is Andalusia. I'm a fan of Andalusia. So I went to Andalusia to try their new bottlings. Meanwhile, 50 minutes away, everybody was actually hanging out in Still Austin, trying samples and stuff like that with Chris down there. So I missed out on that, but whatever. But yeah, I've been to, 13, 14 distilleries in Texas. I haven't been down to the Houston area. It's probably in terms of there's probably 5 clumps in Texas of where the whiskey scene is at. Probably the only major region in Texas that I've been to is Houston. And I had plans to go there. I was going to have this route. I was going to travel over Texas. But during, the COVID crap hit. So that didn't happen. But eventually I got there.
Yeah. Yeah, and they have the Texas Whiskey Trail too. So that's.
Yeah, but calling it a trail is a bit of a misnomer.
Yeah, they have, 10 or 12 up in Dallas, Fort Worth area.
Right.
Then they have 8 or 9 in the Austin.
But unless you got a helicopter, it's not a trail.
That's a long way.
They're quite scattered.
It would take you at least a week, I would say, at a decent pace to sort of maybe 2 weeks to visit them all.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
2 weeks at least.
Right. So anyway, we're getting close to 2 hours. I want to kind of wrap this up. I'm going to eat some cereal and try to go back to bed. It's a breakfast. Go back to bed. Yeah. But it's been cool. I was totally jazzed and surprised that people showed up and you guys jumped in. So I might do it again sometime. Got not amnesia,
insomnia.
Not amnesia. Insomnia from up in the mind. What the hell, man? At the last second. If some strange reason someone's watching on the replay, give me a comment down below. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in. This has been cool. So I can feel myself. I can feel myself getting tired now. It's like, okay,
starting to wear down. Nice.
Yeah, you can feel yourself winding back down again. All right, I'm back to bed. I just gotta hope I get my sleeping schedule back into a normal pattern by Monday.
Gotcha. Well, listen, I was the first one on. I will. I'll go ahead and say, thank you for having me. Thank you for the opportunity to chat with all of you guys, right? Who all know plenty more than me, and I'll be tuning in. And if there's an opportunity to jump back on, then I will definitely join you guys again.
All right, thanks, Michael. Take it easy.
Take care. Bye-bye.
If you can't catch live, there's always the Facebook group. So
yeah. So Taylor, you were showing something there? Is that Kill Karen?
Oh yes.
Yeah, Kill
12-year-old.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
I thought I had a
I'll be getting
backup
sleepy
bottle.
after this.
Back on my head, I can't find my backup bottle. I can't remember if I bought one or not. This one's getting low.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I just got at the Scotch Whiskey Auctions.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
All right, so hey, I'm gonna let me wrap you up. Hey, if you guys haven't checked out Scotch Down Under, check him out. And I want to thank you very much for tuning in. Guys, hang on for just a second. I'm gonna remove, but stay tuned. I'll take you off this live screen, but I'll still be in. All right, so hey, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, who watching. Total surprise. If for some strange reason you watch this on the replay, give this video a like or whatever, make a comment down below. I think things went well. Normally I would sort of maybe just delete this, but it actually turned out to be a pretty good hangout. And just for shits and giggles, I want to go out with an outro. So, hey, until next time, cheers.